I woke up from emergency surgery to find my credit card had been maxed out at Disney World. While I was fighting for my life, my son was buying Mickey Mouse ears for his ungrateful children. Hi, everyone. My name is Barbara, and I'm 72 years old. Before I tell you what I did next, I'd love to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments. I love connecting with all of you. Now, let me take you back to where this nightmare began. I've always been the kind of mother who put her children first. After my husband passed away 15 years ago, I poured everything into raising my son, Michael. I worked 2 jobs to put him through college, helped with his wedding, and even gave him the down payment for his first house. When his twins were born, I was there every single day, babysitting, cooking, helping however I could. Michael married a woman named Tiffany. From day one, I could tell she saw me as a convenient ATM rather than family, but I kept my mouth shut because I loved my son, and I wanted to be part of my grandchildren's lives. Jake and Emma were 8 years old, and while they were sweet kids, Tiffany was raising them to expect everything handed to them on a silver platter. I lived comfortably on my late husband's pension and Social Security, nothing extravagant, but I had savings. I'd been careful my whole life, planning for retirement, medical emergencies, maybe leaving something behind for Michael and the kids. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning in March. I'd been having stomach pains for weeks, but being old-fashioned, I kept putting off the doctor. That morning, the pain became unbearable. I could barely stand up. I called Michael, gasping through the pain, and told him I needed help. "Mom, I'm at work. Can't you call an ambulance?" Those words should have been my first warning. I did call an ambulance. At the emergency room, they rushed me in for tests. The doctor's face told me everything before his words did. My appendix was inflamed and on the verge of rupturing. I needed emergency surgery immediately or I could die from sepsis. I was terrified. I'd never had surgery before, not even minor procedures. They were prepping me, asking about next of kin, insurance, emergency contacts. Everything was happening so fast. I gave them Michael's number as my emergency contact. He showed up at the hospital an hour later, Tiffany by his side. She looked annoyed, like I'd inconvenienced her by nearly dying. "How long will the surgery take?" Tiffany asked the doctor. Not, "How is she?" or "What are the risks?" Just how long would this interruption last? "We're taking her in now," the doctor explained. "The surgery itself is about an hour, but recovery and observation will take several hours. She'll need to stay overnight, possibly longer depending on complications." Tiffany whispered something to Michael. He nodded. "Mom, we'll be here when you wake up," Michael said, squeezing my hand. "Everything's going to be fine." I held on to those words as they wheeled me toward the operating room. My son would be there. I wasn't alone. I had no idea that the moment I went under anesthesia, they'd be planning their vacation. The surgery went well, according to the doctors, but nothing about what came after would be well ever again. I woke up in recovery around 6 in the evening, groggy and in pain. The nurses were wonderful, checking my vitals, making sure I was comfortable. My abdomen felt like it had been set on fire, and the pain medication made everything hazy and surreal. "Is my son here?" I asked the nurse. She checked the waiting room and came back shaking her head. "There's no one out there for you, honey. Do you want me to call someone?" My heart sank. They'd left. Michael promised he'd be there when I woke up, and he'd left. I tried calling his cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. I tried Tiffany's number. Same thing. Voicemail. They probably just went to get dinner, I told myself, trying to stay calm. They'll be back. They never came back that night. I spent that first night alone in a hospital room, drifting in and out of consciousness from the pain medication, jumping every time I heard footsteps in the hallway, hoping it was Michael. It never was. The next morning, a different nurse came in to check on me. "Any family coming to visit today?" "I'm sure they will," I said, though I wasn't sure at all anymore. I tried calling again. Nothing. I sent text messages. No response. By afternoon, I was starting to panic. What if something had happened to them? What if there'd been an accident? But surely someone would have notified me. I was Michael's emergency contact, too. The doctor came by for his rounds. "Mrs. Patterson, you're recovering nicely. We'll keep you one more night for observation, and if everything looks good tomorrow, you can go home. Is there someone who can pick you up and stay with you for a few days? You shouldn't be alone." "My son will take care of it," I said automatically. But would he? That second night was worse than the first. The fear had turned to something else. Hurt, confusion, anger. Where was my son? The one I'd sacrificed everything for? The one who promised he'd be there? On the third day, Thursday morning, I was discharged. I still hadn't heard from Michael, not a single word in over 48 hours. I took a cab home, which cost me $42 I couldn't really afford. Every bump in the road sent pain shooting through my abdomen. I clutched my discharge papers and medication bag, trying not to cry. My house felt empty and cold. I stood in the kitchen where I'd cooked thousands of meals for Michael over the years, where I'd baked birthday cakes for Jake and Emma, where I'd hosted every Christmas and Thanksgiving. I tried calling one more time. Voicemail again. That's when I decided to check my bank account online. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe there was some explanation. I logged into my account and stared at the screen. My checking account, which had over $6,000 4 days ago, was down to $300. My credit card, which I kept for emergencies and always paid off every month, was maxed out at its $15,000 limit. My hands started shaking as I clicked on the transaction details. Disney World. Every single charge was from Disney World in Orlando, Florida. March 25th, Walt Disney World Resort, $1,847. March 25th, Disney Park tickets, $2,340. March 25th, Disney Store, $486. March 26th, Disney Restaurant, $277. March 26th, Disney Photo Pass, $199. March 26th, Disney Gift Shop, $523. The list went on and on. Hotel rooms at the Grand Floridian, park tickets, character dining experiences, souvenirs, everything. They'd even charged VIP tours at $300 per person. While I was in emergency surgery, while I was lying alone in that hospital room, while I was in pain and scared and wondering if I would die, they were riding Space Mountain and eating Mickey-shaped waffles with my money. I sat there staring at my laptop screen, and something inside me just broke. Not broke like crying. I was beyond tears. Broke like a dam that had been holding back years of being taken advantage of, years of putting everyone else first, years of being treated like a convenience rather than a person. They hadn't even asked. They'd just taken my credit card and left me to nearly die alone. I checked my emails. There it was. I'd given Michael my credit card information months ago when he said he needed to order something online for Emma's birthday and his card wasn't working. I'd trusted him to delete it after. He'd saved it. And the moment I was vulnerable, the moment I needed him most, he'd used it to take his family on a vacation. I called the credit card company. "I need to report fraudulent charges." "I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Patterson. Can you tell me which charges you're disputing?" "All the Disney charges from March 25th onward. I was in the hospital having emergency surgery. I never authorized these purchases." The representative was sympathetic but firm. "Since these were made by someone who had your card information and you've previously authorized this person to use your card, this becomes more complicated. We'll need to investigate. In the meantime, would you like to freeze the card?" "Yes, immediately." "Done. The card is now deactivated. They won't be able to make any more charges." I hung up and checked my phone again. Still nothing from Michael. They had no idea I'd discovered what they'd done. They were still there, still spending, still having the time of their lives while I sat at home, alone, recovering from surgery that could have killed me. Then I remembered. They'd used my debit card too. I called the bank. "I need to close my checking account and open a new one. Someone has stolen my debit card information." The banker was efficient. Within 20 minutes, my old account was closed and a new one was opened. Every automatic payment had to be transferred, every direct deposit rerouted. It was a hassle, but I didn't care. I wanted them cut off. Completely. I looked at the calendar. Today was Thursday. Based on the hotel charges, they'd booked the Grand Floridian through Sunday. 4 more days of their magical vacation. I sat back in my chair, my surgical incision throbbing, and for the first time in 3 days, I smiled. They had no idea what was coming. I spent Thursday afternoon doing something I should have done years ago. I started documenting everything. I printed out every bank statement, every credit card statement, every canceled check where I'd helped Michael over the years. The down payment for his house, $30,000. The new car when his broke down, $8,000. The times I'd loaned him money that was never paid back, another $15,000 at least. Then I opened a new document on my computer and started writing down every time I'd babysat Jake and Emma, every Tuesday and Thursday evening for the past 3 years, every weekend when Michael and Tiffany wanted date night, every school holiday when they didn't want to take time off work. If I'd been paid minimum wage for childcare, they would have owed me over $40,000. I wasn't keeping track to demand payment. I was keeping track because I needed to see in black and white exactly how much I'd given and how little I'd received in return. My phone finally rang at 7 that evening. Michael. I stared at his name on the screen, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to answer and scream at him. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail and never speak to him again. I answered. "Hello? Mom, finally, I've been trying to reach you." His voice was bright, cheerful, like nothing was wrong. "Really? Because I've been calling you since Tuesday." "Yeah, sorry about that. We decided last minute to take the kids to Disney. My phone's been acting up with the service here. How are you feeling? How'd the surgery go?" How'd the surgery go? Like it was a dental cleaning. "I nearly died, Michael. My appendix almost ruptured. I spent 2 nights alone in the hospital because you left." "Mom, don't be dramatic. The doctor said you'd be fine. Tiffany and I talked about it, and we figured the kids shouldn't have to see you all sick in the hospital. It would have traumatized them." I closed my eyes. "So you went to Disney World instead?" "The timing just worked out. We'd been talking about going for months, and with Emma's spring break and everything. Mom, you should see how happy the kids are. Jake met Spider-Man today, and Emma got to have breakfast with the princesses. It's magical. I'm so glad they're having fun." He didn't catch my tone. "They really are. Listen, we'll come see you when we get back on Sunday, okay? We'll bring you some Mickey Mouse stuff. Love you, Mom." He hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, and that's when I knew. He had no idea the cards weren't working. They hadn't tried to charge anything new yet. They were probably at dinner right now, relaxing after a long day of rides and character meet and greets, completely oblivious. Friday morning would be interesting. That's when they'd try to check out of activities or buy breakfast. That's when they'd discover their magical vacation had just turned into a nightmare. I went to bed Thursday night and slept better than I had in months. Friday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 34 text messages. The first call had come at 8:47 a.m. By 9:15, they were frantic. I made myself a cup of coffee, moving slowly because of the pain from my incision, and read through the messages while sitting at my kitchen table. Michael, 8:47 a.m. "Mom, my card isn't working. Can you call the credit card company?" Michael, 8:52 a.m. "Mom, we're trying to check out of our breakfast reservation and the card was declined." Michael, 9:01 a.m. "Mom, this is urgent. Call me now." Tiffany, 9:03 a.m. "Barbara, we have a problem with the card. We need you to fix this immediately." Michael, 9:15. "I called the credit card company and they said you canceled the card? What's going on?" Tiffany, 9:18 a.m. "This is completely unacceptable. We have 2 children here and you're playing games with us?" I took a sip of my coffee. It was good coffee, the expensive kind I usually only bought for special occasions. Today felt special. The phone rang. Michael. I let it ring. It rang again immediately. Tiffany. I let that one ring too. Then Michael again. I finally answered on the 4th call. "Mom, thank God. What's going on with the credit card?" I canceled it. Silence. Then, "You what?" I canceled the credit card and I closed my checking account. Both cards are permanently deactivated. "Are you insane? We're in the middle of Disney World. We have 2 more days here. We have hotel charges, park tickets for today and tomorrow, dinner reservations. That sounds like a problem. Mom, this isn't funny. We have the kids here. You had me in emergency surgery, Michael, alone, while you stole $15,000 from my credit card. We didn't steal. We were going to pay you back. Like you paid back the $30,000 for your house down payment? Like you paid back the $8,000 for your car? Like you've paid back any of the money I've given you over the last 10 years? I could hear Tiffany in the background, her voice shrill and angry. Mom, we can talk about this when we get home, but right now we need... No. What? No, you're adults. You took a vacation you couldn't afford using someone else's money while that person was nearly dying. Figure it out. How are we supposed to get home? We don't have enough credit on our cards to cover the hotel. I guess you should have thought of that before you abandoned your mother in a hospital. If you're watching this and you can't believe what I did next, hit that subscribe button because this story gets so much better. Mom, please, the kids are asking what's wrong. Emma's crying. Tell Emma that Grandma is recovering from surgery, alone, because her father decided Disney World was more important. You're being selfish, and I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear or doubt, from pure adrenaline and something I hadn't felt in years, power. They called 19 more times that day. I didn't answer any of them. Saturday morning, I called my lawyer. Harold Brennan had handled my husband's estate 15 years ago, and I'd kept his number all these years. He was semi-retired now, but agreed to see me that afternoon. Barbara, it's been too long, he said, shaking my hand gently when he noticed me wincing. What can I do for you? I need to change my will, completely. I showed him everything. The bank statements, the credit card charges, the documented history of money I'd given Michael. I told him about the surgery, about being abandoned, about waking up to find $15,000 stolen. Harold's expression grew darker as I talked. He was a grandfather himself. I want Michael removed as beneficiary of everything, I said. The house, my savings, my pension benefits, all of it. Do you have alternative beneficiaries in mind? I'd thought about this all night. Split everything equally between 3 charities, the local children's hospital, the women's shelter, and the Animal Rescue Foundation. Harold nodded. I'll draft the new will today. We can have you sign it on Monday. I need it done today, Harold. I want it legally executed before they get back from Orlando. He saw the determination in my eyes and didn't argue. Give me 3 hours. While I waited, I went through my house, methodically collecting everything that belonged to Michael and his family. Jake's toys that lived at Grandma's house, Emma's art supplies, the family photos that lined my walls. All of it went into boxes. I found the key Michael had to my house and removed it from my key ring. I'd have the locks changed on Monday. At 4 p.m., I was back in Harold's office, signing the new will. He had 2 staff members witness it, and it was done. Legal. Binding. Irrevocable. Barbara, Harold said gently, I understand you're hurt and angry. Those feelings are completely valid. But are you sure you don't want to take a few weeks to think this through? Harold, I've spent 72 years putting other people first. I put my husband first when he was alive, which was right and good. I loved him. I put Michael first his entire life, which is what a mother does. But this? I gestured to the papers. This isn't a son forgetting a birthday or being too busy to call. This is cruelty. This is theft. This is abandonment when I needed him most. Then I'm satisfied you're making this decision with full understanding. I drove home with the signed will in my passenger seat and felt lighter than I had in years. The calls from Michael and Tiffany had continued all weekend. The voicemails went from angry to desperate to pleading. Apparently, they'd had to move to a cheaper hotel off Disney property. Tiffany's parents had wired them money for gas to get home, but not enough to finish their vacation the way they'd planned. Sunday evening, I got a text from Michael. We'll be home tomorrow. We need to talk. I texted back, there's nothing to talk about. Don't come to my house. Then I blocked both their numbers. Monday morning, I hired a locksmith. Just need the front and back door locks changed, I told him. He was a nice young man who reminded me of Michael before he'd married Tiffany, before he'd become someone I didn't recognize. "No problem, ma'am. This'll take about an hour." While he worked, I called my doctor's office and scheduled my follow-up appointment. I called my neighbor, Helen, who'd been worried sick about me and apologized for not reaching out sooner. I called my younger sister in Arizona and told her everything. "Barbara, I'm so sorry," Linda said. "But honestly, I'm proud of you. Michael's been taking advantage of you for years and you finally had enough. Was I wrong to do this?" "Wrong? Barbara, he stole from you while you were in surgery. He abandoned you in the hospital. There's no world where you're the bad guy here." By noon, I had new locks and 2 new keys, one for me, one for Helen in case of emergencies. That was it. At 2:30 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Michael, Tiffany, and the twins standing on my porch. They looked exhausted and angry. I didn't open the door. "Mom, open the door," Michael shouted. I stayed quiet. "Barbara, we know you're in there. Your car's in the driveway." That was Tiffany. More knocking, then pounding. "Grandma," Emma's small voice, "are you mad at us?" That almost broke me. Almost. But I remembered that Emma hadn't asked where Grandma was when I was in the hospital. Neither child had asked their parents why they weren't visiting me. "Mom, please, we drove 7 hours straight. The kids are tired. We need to talk about this." Michael's voice was cracking now. I walked to my bedroom and closed the door. I could still hear them outside, but muffled now. They stayed for 40 minutes. I could hear them arguing among themselves. Tiffany was angry that they'd wasted time driving here. Michael kept insisting I'd come around, that I was just being dramatic. Finally, they left. 10 minutes later, Michael tried his key. I heard him jiggle it in the lock, confused when it wouldn't work. "She changed the locks," I heard him say to Tiffany. "She actually changed the locks." "This is elder abuse," Tiffany said loudly, probably hoping I'd hear. "We could call social services. She's clearly not thinking straight after her surgery." "Let's just go home," Michael said. He sounded defeated. "I'll try calling her tomorrow when she's calmed down." I wouldn't calm down. I was calmer than I'd been in years. Over the next week, they tried everything. Michael sent emails. Tiffany sent a certified letter threatening legal action for grandparent alienation. Michael's friend Tom, who I'd known since the boys were in high school together, called and tried to mediate. "Barbara, I understand you're upset, but Michael's beside himself. Maybe you could just talk to him." "Tom, tell me something. If your mother was in emergency surgery, would you leave her alone in the hospital and fly to Disney World on her credit card?" He didn't have an answer for that. 3 weeks after the surgery, I felt strong enough to start making bigger changes. First, I joined a senior fitness group at the community center, water aerobics twice a week. The ladies there were wonderful, supportive, funny, and none of them knew anything about my family drama. I was just Barbara, recovering from surgery, trying to stay healthy. Second, I volunteered at the local library's reading program. I'd always loved children, and just because my own grandchildren had been kept from me didn't mean I couldn't make a difference in other kids' lives. Every Tuesday afternoon, I read stories to groups of preschoolers whose faces lit up with wonder and joy. Third, I made an appointment with a financial advisor. If I was going to live the rest of my life on my terms, I needed to know exactly where I stood financially. The advisor's name was Patricia. She was about 50, sharp as a tack, and didn't mince words. "Mrs. Patterson, looking at your history, you've given away approximately $97,000 over the last 15 years to your son and his family." I know. If that money had been invested conservatively, it would be worth approximately $160,000 today. I felt sick. "However," Patricia continued, "you're not in bad shape. Your house is paid off, your pension and Social Security are stable, and once the credit card company resolves the fraud investigation, you should recover most of those charges." Most? There's a deductible and some charges they might consider authorized since you'd previously given your son card access, but we're talking maybe $2,000 to $3,000 out-of-pocket maximum. Not ideal, but manageable. Over the next month, Michael's attempts to contact me changed tactics. He stopped being angry and started being pitiful. Email from Michael. Mom, Emma asks about you every day. She misses her grandma. She doesn't understand why you won't see her. Email from Michael. It's Jake's birthday next week. He wants you there. Please don't punish the kids for our mistakes. Email from Michael. Tiffany's pregnant. You're going to have another grandchild. Don't you want to be part of this baby's life? Each message was designed to make me feel guilty, to make me question my decision. But every time I wavered, I remembered waking up alone in that hospital room. I remembered the bank statement. I remembered, "Don't be dramatic, Mom." I didn't respond to any of them. Helen asked me about it one evening over tea. Do you miss them? I miss who I thought they were, I said honestly. I miss the son I raised, the one who wouldn't have abandoned his mother. But that person either never existed or doesn't exist anymore. The man who stole from me while I was in surgery? I don't miss him at all. What about the grandkids? That one hurt. I love Jake and Emma, but their parents are teaching them that grandma exists to give them money and free babysitting. That's not love. That's use. And I won't participate in raising another generation of users. Helen squeezed my hand. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for. Maybe I was. Or maybe I'd just finally run out of the weakness that made me easy to exploit. 4 months after the Disney incident, on a Tuesday in July, my doorbell rang at 3 p.m. I looked through the peephole and saw Michael standing there alone. No Tiffany, no kids. He looked terrible. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes, and his shoulders were slumped in defeat. Against my better judgment, I opened the door but kept the security chain on. Mom, what do you want, Michael? I need to talk to you, please. Just 5 minutes. I studied his face. He looked genuinely broken. You can talk from there. Tiffany left me. I didn't say anything. She's filing for divorce. She said I'm useless, that my family is useless, that she can't believe she married someone whose own mother won't even talk to him. His voice cracked. She took the kids to her parents' house. I haven't seen them in 3 weeks. I'm sorry you're going through that. Are you? Because you started all of this. And there it was, the victim mentality. I started this? Michael, you abandoned me during emergency surgery to go on vacation with my stolen money. You did that. It wasn't stolen. You're my mother. You've always helped me. Helping is giving freely. Stealing is taking without permission. You stole from me when I was at my most vulnerable. I made a mistake. How long are you going to punish me? I looked at this man, my son, who I'd loved more than my own life, and felt nothing but profound sadness. Michael, you haven't apologized. Not once. You've been angry that I caught you, defensive about your choices, upset about the consequences. But you've never said, Mom, I'm sorry I hurt you. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Even now, standing on my doorstep, you're here because your wife left you and you need something from me. You're not here because you realized you hurt your mother. You're here because you need me to fix your life again. That's not fair. Do you even know how the surgery went, Michael? Did you ever ask about my recovery? Whether I needed help? Whether I was okay? He stared at his feet. You called once from Disney to tell me how magical it was. That was it. 4 months ago, I almost died, and you've never asked if I'm okay. How are you? He asked quietly. I'm better than I've been in years. I have friends, hobbies, and a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for you to need something from me. So that's it? You're just done with me? With your grandkids? I changed my will, Michael. Everything goes to charity when I die. The house, the savings, all of it. You're not in it anymore. His face went white. You can't do that. I can, and I did. It's been legally executed for 4 months. That's what I wanted to tell you. There's nothing left for you to take from me. You already took it all. Mom. Goodbye, Michael. I closed the door and locked it. The new lock he didn't have a key for, and walked away. Behind me, I heard him start to cry. I didn't go back. 6 months after my emergency surgery, I was having lunch with Helen and 2 other ladies from my water aerobics class when I saw them, Michael, Tiffany, Jake, and Emma, together, at the same restaurant. They saw me too. Tiffany immediately grabbed Michael's arm and whispered something. He shook his head. They had a brief, tense discussion, and then Michael stood up and walked over to my table. "Mom." Michael. Helen and the other ladies went quiet, watching. "Can I talk to you, privately?" I considered saying no, but something in his face was different. Humbler, maybe. "You have 2 minutes." We stepped outside the restaurant. Michael's hands were shaking. "I'm in therapy," he said. "Twice a week. The therapist has helped me see a lot of things. About how I treated you, how I let Tiffany treat you, how I took advantage of you my whole life." I waited. "I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here to say I'm sorry, really genuinely sorry. I was a terrible son. I abandoned you when you needed me. I stole from you. I let my wife and kids treat you like an ATM instead of a person, and I justified all of it by telling myself you were happy to help. That's what family does." "And now?" I asked. "Now I know that's not family. That's abuse. I abused your generosity and your love, and I'm sorry." For the first time in 6 months, I saw my son, the real person, not the entitled man-child he'd become. "Tiffany and I are in marriage counseling. I don't know if we'll make it, but I'm trying to be better. A better husband, better father, and I want to be a better son. If you'll give me the chance." "I don't know if I can trust you again." "I understand. I don't expect you to. But maybe someday we could have coffee. Just talk. I want to know how you're doing. Really doing. Not because I need something, but because you're my mom and I love you." I looked back through the restaurant window. Jake and Emma were coloring on the kids' menus. Tiffany was on her phone, looking uncomfortable. "I need more time," I said finally. "I'll wait," Michael said, "however long it takes." That was 8 months ago. Michael and I have had coffee 4 times. Short visits, neutral locations, carefully rebuilding something that might eventually resemble a relationship. He paid me back $3,000 so far, all he can afford, and has standing appointments with his therapist. I haven't changed my will back. I probably never will. That money will do more good for children's hospitals and women's shelters than it ever would for Michael. But I've learned something important. I can forgive someone without letting them take advantage of me again. I can love my son while maintaining boundaries. I can be kind without being a doormat. The surgery scar on my abdomen has healed. The scar on my heart is healing slower, but it's healing. And for the first time in my 73 years, I'm living for myself. That's my story. Thanks for listening.